seems to be breaking down also. We see an unprecedented scale of recent natural disasters, to wit the earthquakes, tornadoes, and hurricanes that have plagued us. And these aberrations in the physical world seem to reflect our own internal confusion and disorder. So just when we thought that the body of mankind was on its way to health, we may very well discover that it is riddled with a cancer that is emanated from its very cells. We need to heal these cells to heal the body of mankind, and these cells are the individual souls and hearts of humankind. And that healing can only take place if we begin to understand who we as human beings truly are and why we're here. To understand our purpose on this plane of existence, to whatever extent we're able. It helps us to come to understand where we are headed, the nature of our final destination, and that entails addressing the issue of death. To do this, to understand our purpose in this life, let us first look at the beginning of our physical lives. We can best understand the human condition in the embryonic phase because we are aware of its ultimate destination. Imagine, if you will, the child in the womb world. We, from our perspective on this plane of existence, the material world as we know it, understand and recognize that the period of gestation in the womb is simply a temporary stage of development of what will be an individual. It is an especially meaningful but a transitory phase during which the child in the womb acquires certain qualities, limbs, etc., that will be quite useful when he's born into this world. We know that because our perspective encompasses both the womb world and the greater world. Now let's carry the analogy a bit further. If that child in the womb world could have the ability to exercise its free will, it may decide not to grow certain appendages, such as arms and legs, ears and eyes, and those appendages that will be very useful when that child dies from that world of existence into this greater physical world of existence. We know that if the child were able to make such a decision, it would be greatly hampered when born into this world, because we know that in this world those physical attributes are necessary. But from the perspective of the child in the womb, the gestating child, the womb is the only world that that child has ever known. It's his entire and absolute reality. Making such a decision, such as not to grow arms or legs or have his eyes develop, might seem entirely rational from his perspective or from his limited point of view. Because he's not aware of this coming world, the world into which he'll be born. And so it is with this physical life. This too is not our ultimate home. During our sojourn here, we must acquire certain qualities and virtues and perfections that may not seem to be immediately relevant to our situation. Is this physical world all there really is? The physical world, if you look at it, is a world of change and relativity, a world of flux and chaos, a world of pain and limitation. Is this truly the real world? Or is our absolute reality beyond change and chance, caprice, and the fluctuations of this world? A 1982 Gallup poll indicated that 8 million Americans believed that they had experienced a near-death phenomena. And it's estimated that 40% of all people who are going to be medically resuscitated at the point of death may experience the near-death phenomena. The people who have reported NDEs have crossed all ethnic, religious, and cultural groups. and they report a consistent pattern or series of elements to the experience, regardless of their pre-existing beliefs. Kenneth Ring, out of the University of Connecticut, has done a great body of research on this, and he's broken the stages down into 5 different stages. Not every individual who has a near-death experience goes through all 5 stages, but some do. The deepest experience that I'll share with you tonight does contain all 5 of these phases. The 5 phases of the positive near-death experience are: first, a sense of peace of well-being; second, a sense of separation of consciousness from the body; third, there is a stage where one enters the darkness or the tunnel; the 4th stage is seeing the light; and the 5th stage is entering the light. Now, these are very nice, tidy, linear stages. However, to someone who's had a near-death experience, it seems incongruous to use these kinds of words to describe it, because it seems more as if it were a simultaneous matrix of impressions as opposed to something to be broken down in a linear sense. But again, this reflects the limitation of our words and the limitations of how we come to an understanding, an intellectual understanding on this plane of existence. These people who have gone through positive near-death experiences report an increased sense of a belief in God, an increased feeling or a concept of God in their lives, a sense of a personal closeness with or relationship with God, an absolute belief in life after death, and also a desire to serve others. Now again, this is a human experience, and it differs from one individual to another, and it's experienced along a continuum. However, when we look at the whole population, this is what is found. There are also negative near-death experiences. These are not frequently reported, but they are there in the data. And those stages are again 5. The first stage is where the individual feels a sense of panic. The individual then has an out-of-body experience. They enter a black void or a barren and empty expanse, as opposed to the light or a beautiful environment. They sense an evil force, and they know that they're entering, or they are in, a hell-like environment. Instead of having affectionate conversations with friendly and welcoming beings, they report seeing lifeless apparitions and experiencing from these dark others threats or just mere cold silence. This fits in very well with the Baha'i teachings on life after death. We believe that all people live after death because the human reality is spiritual and not merely physical. However, Abdu'l-Baha tells us, for those who believe in God, those who have love of God and faith, life is excellent, life in the next world. That is, it is eternal. But to those souls who are veiled from God, although they have life, it is dark. So these near-death reports seem to dovetail in very much with the Baha'i writings. People who have near-death experiences report that they're less interested in formal religious involvement. They quite frequently undergo religious change, and quite often that results in their disaffiliation with any quote-unquote organized religion. Although they feel an increased closeness to God, an increased need to pray and to worship and to serve others.